848 runners were put in a real scientific trial to settle it. Is the cushioning in your shoes wrecking your feet? The answer came back as the exact opposite, because the softer, more cushioned shoe caused about a third fewer injuries, which means the barefoot crowd had it backwards. But the real story is stranger than that, because they are also right about something. 3 things are coming in this video. 1. The MRI study, where 10 out of 19 runners damaged the bones in their feet in 10 weeks, while following a careful, sensible plan. 2. The court document, where the company that started the whole barefoot boom paid $3.75 million to stop making its own health claim. 3. The 8-week protocol that builds genuinely strong feet without any of that damage, including the one shortcut that gets you most of the benefit with almost no risk. But none of it makes sense until you see the single distinction that both sides of this argument have been missing for 15 years. Here's the part nobody puts in the thumbnail. In 2013, researchers at Brigham Young University took 36 experienced runners and scanned their feet in an MRI machine. 19 switched to Vibram 5 fingers, the toe shoes that started all of this. 17 stayed in normal running shoes, and the switchers were careful. 1 to 2 miles in week 1, 2 runs in week 2, 3 in week 3. This was not a group going cold turkey. 10 weeks later, they scanned everyone again. 10 of the 19 minimalist runners had new bone marrow edema in at least one bone in the foot. That is the bruise inside the bone that shows up before a stress fracture. It was scored 0 to 4, where 4 is a full fracture. 2 runners hit 4, so more than half of the careful group damaged their feet in 10 weeks. The control group in cushioned shoes did not. And a foot stress fracture is 3 months of no running. That's a marathon block, gone. So how did an idea that hurt half the people who tried it become the most repeated advice in running? Turns out both sides of this argument are half right, and neither one tells you the other half. There are really 2 separate claims being made, and everyone treats them as one. Claim 1, modern shoes make your feet weak. Claim 2, cushioning is what injures runners. Most people hear those as the same sentence. They are not. One of them is backed by good evidence. The other one collapses the moment you test it properly. Think about your feet like any other muscle group. You build a muscle under control, with a load you choose, in a session you can stop. Nobody does their heaviest lift in the middle of a race. But running in barefoot shoes is exactly that. It is your hardest foot strength session at pace, for an hour on concrete, with no way to stop when the muscle gives up. So, which of those 2 claims survives contact with the data? Here's the one they get right, and I want to be fair to them, because it is genuinely true. In 2019, the same research group ran a different study. 57 people, 8 weeks, 3 groups. Group 1 walked in minimalist shoes, building up their daily step count. Group 2 did dedicated foot strengthening exercises 5 days a week. Group 3 did nothing. They measured actual foot muscle size with ultrasound and actual foot strength with a dynamometer. The minimalist walking group matched the exercise group. Same gains in muscle size, same gains in strength. The control group did not change. So the barefoot crowd is right. Minimal shoes really do build strong feet, as well as doing prescribed foot exercises, and with far less discipline required. But look closely at the word doing all the work in that study. Walking. They walked. Nobody in that study ran a single step. So, what happens when you take that same idea and start running in them? But here's where the second claim falls apart completely. In 2020, a team published a randomized controlled trial in the American Journal of Sports Medicine. 848 recreational runners. They built 2 shoes, identical in every single way except one, how soft the foam was. 61 newtons per millimeter in the soft shoe, 95 in the hard one. Same look, same weight. Only the cushioning changed. Runners were randomly assigned. They did not know which pair they had, and every injury was tracked. 128 of them got hurt. If the barefoot theory were true, the soft shoes should have produced more injuries. The opposite happened. The runners in the soft cushioned shoes came out with a hazard ratio of 0.66. In plain language, roughly a third fewer injuries. Now, I'll do the thing the barefoot videos never do and give you the honest limits. That confidence interval runs from 0.46 to 0.93, so the true effect could be smaller than it sounds, and it was not equal for everyone. Lighter runners got a clear benefit. For heavier runners, it was not statistically significant, but in the biggest trial we have, more cushioning meant fewer injuries, not more. That is the exact opposite of what 20 million people were told. And if you assume the company selling the barefoot idea stood behind it, there's a court document that says otherwise. Here's the receipt. In 2012, Vibram, the company behind the 5 Fingers toe shoes, was sued over the health claims in its marketing. The claims that the shoes strengthen your muscles and reduce your risk of injury. In 2014, Vibram settled for $3.75 million. They refunded buyers up to $94 a pair, and more than 150,000 claims were filed. As part of that settlement, Vibram agreed to stop claiming the shoes strengthen muscles or prevent injury without scientific support for it. Read that again. The company that started the Barefoot boom paid nearly $4 million to stop making the claim that the internet still makes for free every day in videos with millions of views. But none of this means you should throw your barefoot shoes in the bin, because that 2019 strength study was real too. So what do you actually do with both of those facts? So here's the split that makes both studies true at once. Your feet have two different jobs, and they need two different tools. Job one is getting stronger. The right tool is a minimal, wide, flat shoe. The right activity is walking, standing, living your normal day. That is the exact protocol that matched dedicated foot exercises. Job two is absorbing running mileage on concrete. Thousands of impacts at 2 to 3 times body weight, with no rest between them. The right tool there is a cushion running shoe. And the biggest trial we have says the softer one is safer. Every injury story in this debate is the same mistake. Someone reads about job one and uses that tool for job two. They take a training device for walking and ask it to be a shock absorber for a 10-mile run. The barefoot crowd is not wrong that your feet are weak. They are wrong about where to fix it. You do not fix weak feet during your run. You fix them in the other 23 hours of the day. So how do you build that without ending up in an MRI machine like those runners? Here's the 8-week version, and the numbers matter more than the idea. Step 1. Weeks 1 and 2, minimal shoes for walking only, not a single run. Start at 20 minutes a day. Your calves and your arches will complain, and that complaining is the training effect. Step 2, weeks 3 and 4. Build the walking towards 60 to 90 minutes a day. Still no running. This is where the strength gains came from. Step 3, weeks 5 and 6. Now you add one run. 10 minutes on grass or a track, never on pavement. Every other run stays in your cushioned shoes. Step 4, weeks 7 and 8. At most, 10% of your weekly running volume in minimal shoes, never on back-to-back days. Run 40 kilometers a week, that's 4. And one hard rule that overrides all of it. Sharp pain on the top of your foot, in one spot you can cover with one finger, means stop for 2 weeks. That spot is what lit up on those MRI scans. Soreness spread across the calf is training. Pinpoint pain on a bone is a warning. There's also a shortcut most people miss. The part of this with the least downside is simply the wide toe box. Buy a cushioned running shoe with a wide toe box, and your toes splay properly without going zero drop at all. You keep the cushioning and drop the squeeze. But before you start any of this, you need to know if you are someone who should not. This is not for everyone, and the barefoot videos never say that part. If you run more than about 50 kilometers a week, the maths turns against you. More impacts means less room for a transition to go wrong. If you are over 50, be careful. Minimalist footwear has been linked to reduced stability, and it is barely researched in older runners. If you have ever had a stress fracture or plantar fasciitis right now, this is not your project. Get that healed first. And if you are a heavier runner, the soft shoe benefit was not significant for you in that trial. The transition risk still is. So go slower than the plan above. Now, surfaces. This is the most common comment under every barefoot video, and none of them answer it. People keep saying the same sentence. My feet feel amazing on grass and destroyed on concrete. They are right, and they are describing real physics. Your feet evolved on ground that deforms under you. Concrete is the newest surface in human history, and it gives back every jewel you put into it. Grass, trail, and sand are where minimal shoes make sense. Pavement is where cushioning earns its money. One last practical thing. Minimal shoes are not cheap, usually 120 to 180 euros, and they wear out fast. There is barely any midsole there to wear down. So, back to the question underneath all of this. Am I injured because of my shoes or because of what I did to my feet? Mostly the second one. Your shoes are a far smaller lever than your training load, your ramp rate, and your recovery. The barefoot argument spent 15 years convincing runners that the smallest lever was the biggest one. The lesson is that the movement was half right, which is the most dangerous kind of wrong. Weak feet are real, and you genuinely can fix them. That part is true and proven. But cushioning was never the enemy, and running is not where you do the fixing. I wanted to stop getting injured, so I ditched my cushioned shoes like the videos said. But the evidence for that was about walking, not running, and the switch is what breaks feet. Until you split it. Minimal shoes to build the feet, cushioned shoes to carry the miles. Strong feet and healthy mileage instead of a stress fracture and a lost season. RunnersVibe is for runners who want the evidence instead of the marketing, and that is the whole channel. If you have tried Barefoot shoes, I want to know which camp you landed in. Did your feet genuinely get stronger, or did you end up hurt? Put it in the comments, because the honest answers here are worth more than any study. And if you want the other question that quietly costs runners money, watch this next. How often you actually need to replace your running shoes?